Hello and welcome. So we are exploring the reactjs, which is the library built on the top of the JS and which was built by the Facebook initially. So in this lecture, we will specifically look into the components in the React.js. So what are the components? And basically, React.js is famous, and one of the reasons is components in the React.js, which makes it reusable. Okay, so let's start. So what are the components basically? Components are nothing but the functions like the functions in the JavaScript and which returns the HTML. So the functions that are returning the HTML elements and basically these functions and these functions will be called as components, and these are independent and reusable. So you don't have to copy and paste and write the long HTML codes again and again in this on the multiple for the multiple pages and in the multiple files, but you can create once and call it at other places as well. So these are reusable. So they serve the same purpose as JavaScript function, but they return the HTML as I explained earlier. And these basically there are two types of components in the React.js. One is function and one is the class. So class based component and function based components are different in syntax, but they serve the same logic and same function. Okay, so basically we will explore further in the next lectures as well what are the class based components and what are the function based components, but we will see somehow that how the class based functions work and how we can return the HTML in the React. So basically, class-based components, when we create it, it must be noted that always function-based component may have like start their name with the block letter or the small letter, but when we are writing the class-based components, components name must start with the uppercase letter, block letter. Okay, so when the compiler and all that reads the code, if the name is starting from the capital letter, so it scans and it understand that it is basically a component, and I have to uh, work properly for that. So when we are writing the class-based component, then the class-based components always extend the class of React.component statement. In case of function-based component, it is not necessary and we don't use it actually. So when we inherit the React.component class, so it uh, acts as like a parent class. So it gives the necessary function for the class-based component. Okay, and the component use the render method to return the HTML. When we will see the function based component, we will see that the render function is not necessary in the function based component. So this is the example of the class based component, and you can see that we are using the render method and we are returning the HTML in the render method, and the component name is starting with the block letter or the capital letter or the uppercase letter, and it is extending the react component which gives it a necessary function or the necessary functions. And when we have to render it, we will render it in some root or some other uh, element, and this is how we can use these class based components and we can render those. Okay, and so let's see the practical example. So this is basically the example we did in the last lecture. We created a counter application and we can just start it by npm start, and npm start will run the application, and our application is currently being run. Let me show you. You can see here it's a simple application, but we didn't focus on the graphics and the colors, but we focused on how we can like use the react.js to build a single page web application and how we handle the state. We will learn states in the next lectures as well. So this is how, and we put a check that if it is 0, then you don't have to decrement further. So let me just explains you the class based component. Let's just comment it. and this is the function based component. So in case of the class based component, you have to write like class, and let's call it app, and it will inherit the react dot component class. Okay, and you can see here as well, it is inheriting the react dot component which gives it necessary functions. Okay, so and in the class based components we use the render method to return the html. In the render method we use return like this, but in function based component we just use this return method. Okay, so we can return html simply like this, and we can do like this as well. This is class component. Okay, so what is the issue over here? Okay, so we have to do something like this. That is why it is giving error in the compile time. Okay, so oh sorry, so this is how it works. So whenever we are basically using the react component, so we have to import the react over here in the file, and then we have to export default app. So basically app, we are basically creating the app component named app class based component, and we are exporting it. Okay, and we have to basically import react like this. Okay, so this is just a warning because it says that you imported it but you are not using it. So let me comment it out to remove any errors and the warnings. So this is the simplest example of the class based component, and you can, when I refresh it, you can see this is the class component. Okay, so and how we are calling it, let me show you. In the index.js file you can see that we are basically creating the root. We are getting the root, creating the root, and we are using the root.render, and we are running the application in the strict mode and the app over here. But we can, if we want to use directly this, we can use it as well, something like this. So basically we don't have to like first create the root and then run it. You can see basically we have to first create the root, but once we create it, what we will do that we will root dot render just like this, and we will do something. Basically we are rendering it in the directly in the root, but if we don't want it, we can use react dom dot render method, and the component over here which is app, and we can directly get the root by this document dot get element, but we don't have to use it. We can directly use the root variable over here, and you can see, oh, it is not working. So we have to actually get the root, but let me show you. This is also not working. So what is the basically error over here? So let me just explain you what is the logic behind the error. So you can see over here we are basically rendering the component in the root element, right? So basically we are creating the root over here, and the root is stored over here, and then we are rendering the app component and document.get element by id. So basically we are using the DOM directly to render the application. You can see over here, right? So it is basically the runtime error, and it is saying that the dot render is not a function. So directly we can use like this. We can create the root and we can call the render method in the root, and we can run the application. If we don't want to run in the strict mode, then we can just comment it out or remove it, and our application will be run perfectly. What is the strict mode? I'll explain it to you as well. So basically you just have to focus on the real things and things that matter to you at this level. Okay, so if we need to just return only one statement, we can remove these brackets as well, but it will not allow us because it's not a arrow based function. So we have to return the statement, and if we want to write something like more, we can use that as well. You can see, so subheading or paragraph. Okay, so now it is giving me error. Why? Because these are multiple lines. That is why I am giving it's giving me error. So I can use, no, sorry. So basically, what is the error over here? Oh, it is again giving me error. So what is the basically reason behind the error? So it is saying that adjacent JSX element must be wrapped in a enclosing tag. So you can only return one enclosing tag. So either you can write the paragraph in the edge element, it will be run like this. But if you don't want, so what you can do is you can create another tag, and you can do like this. So it will be only one tag and enclosing tag, and it can have multiple. Okay, so one more thing, if you don't want to use div, so what you can do is, sorry, you can just remove this and write like this, and it will be run as it should be. So this is the simplest example of the class-based component. Let me revise it. The class-based component should start with the class, and it will inherit the reactive component class through extends keyword, and the name of the first letter of the name of the component should be in the block letters, and it will use the render method. Inside that, it will be used the return method to return the HTML, and it should have only one enclosing tag, and inside you can have multiple tags. But if you have to return only one tag, you can just simply return like that. Okay, so that's all. Thank you very much.